Happy August, folks. It is Cape Ann today. Heather and I have a couple great interviews to share with you, including Dusan Tynek. He is part of the Quarry Dance, the annual Quarry Dance that happens over. Is that Halibut Point, Heather?
Well, it's the Quarry Dance is at a different quarry every year. It's based out of Windhover. So Lisa Hahn, the executive director at Windhover, has this relationship with Dusan Tynek, who's a choreographer. He has a dance company in New York City. So they have that relationship, and Lisa invites Dusan and his company up every year, and they find a quarry on Cape Ann, and he choreographs a dance around that quarry. This is, I should say, every year. This is the 9th year. Well, I would love to know about the challenges that from the start that you've had as a choreographer designing these dances.
Well, in the age of the pandemic, I think all performing artists, we're all struggling to find our way in the new world and figuring out how to continue with what we do. So in particular in dance, it's a very physical art form. So we depend not only on the live audience, but also the actual art form is about connection between people. So the dancers, they have to partner. We rehearse in studios together. So that has been suddenly taken away from us. And like every arts organization, we're struggling. We're trying to figure out how to go forward. It's been very difficult, but obviously artists are very inventive people, and challenges often push us into new territories, and we're able to find ways to work within the means. So thanks to technology like Zoom and such, we've been able to do certain projects. So earlier in the year, right after the pandemic hit us, I was working with a composer who was releasing her new album, and she asked me to choreograph to some of her songs as part of her release. So I got in touch with my dancers who have been quarantining in New York City. One was was traveling to California at that point with a car to see his family. But we decided we could do it via Zoom. So I was teaching choreography in my basement. They were learning it in their living rooms or hotel rooms or wherever they were. And then we had kind of a live streaming performance. Parts were recorded, parts of it are live for the release of the album. So kind of that project got me thinking that there's more that we can do with this, that actually technology allows us to be more connected and make what we do to make it accessible to people everywhere. So talking to Windhover Performing Arts Center director Lisa Hahn, we had scheduled already last year that we would do a Quarry Dance this year in Rockport, in one of the quarries there. It's a already 9-year-old tradition. So we've been coming to Rockport for the last 9 years. Always for a week or so, where I bring my company. We have like a residency at Windhover and spend the week creating an evening length dance that is then presented by the weekend, the following weekend. And the dance takes place around local quarries. So it brings kind of the humanity and the movement into these naturally made, well, man-made natural environment. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to continue with that, and it looked like it's not going to happen. Since everything shut down, we thought we could not travel, we could not really do anything. So when I first started talking to Lisa, we thought, okay, it's kaput. But then after I did this project with the composer, I got in touch with Lisa, and I thought, well, we could perhaps do it virtually. So maybe in some form. And talking to the dancers, we first thought maybe we would substitute quarry for our bathtubs in their apartment. So we could do certain things. So we would do it in wherever the dancers were. So if someone had access to their roof or their alleyway behind their building, we would pretend we were in a quarry. Well, that, was not ideal, obviously. But then as we, I think, adapted a little bit and kind of started to figure things out, and then talking to my dancers and their comfort level with, how we could approach this, we decided that actually we could travel to Cape Ann, and within the week that was allotted to us, we could perhaps do it in very small groups. We could film little segments and then put it together and make it like a film, quarry dance film. So we scheduled it that only one or two dancers would come at a time for a day. I would create work with them on location. And then the following day, we would work with a videographer who would tape it, film the whole thing. A new batch of dancers would arrive, maybe one or two. The previous dancers would leave, and I would again continue with the new dancers, the same process. So I would create for a day, and the following day I would again videotape it. So we did that for the whole week. We visited 3 quarries, and we have some footage hopefully that we can show soon to the audience.
Have you seen the footage?
Some of it, but the videographer has everything, and there was so much of it. I mean, it's hours and hours of footage. So I told him that he should make a very rough cut first, and then we'll work with that. Because I don't need to see everything. I knew what we created and how we were, how we were filming it. So I didn't feel like I needed to see everything.
So I would like to just go backwards in time a little bit. And could you talk about the first time you choreographed a dance in a quarry and what the challenges there were between water and rock and space, and lots of space, right?
Lots of space. But the first time was 9 years ago, and the idea came from the original founder of Windhover Performing Arts Center, Elisa Hahn, who passed away. Aina Hahn. And she toyed with that idea. She had dreamt it up a while ago, and she did not know if it was available. And then she asked me at some point. We were already going to Windhover at that point for regular performances, and we had been teaching workshops for teenagers there every summer. So at one point, she approached me and she asked me if I were interested to explore this idea. And I mean, I've never heard of it. I've never heard of anyone doing anything like it. I thought it was wild. I thought it was exciting, and I said, "Why not? Let's try it." So she approached the officials at Halibut State Park, and so that was the first quarry dance we performed. I think they brought 20 chairs that summer, because just thought, well, no one knows about it. It's new. We don't know who's going to sit through a performance on a hot summer day. Well, I think 100 or 150 people showed up the first day. So, it was very exciting, and it was kind of a little overwhelming just to figure out how we can take in all of that space and make it manageable, not just for the audience. How do they view movement in this vast landscape? But also for me, the biggest challenge, and it's always been a challenge for every quarry dance, was how do I make a seamless kind of a program, because obviously I have only a limited number of dancers, and they have to be moving around the entire quarry. So I have to kind of create a storyline with kind of these vignettes. It's like a string of vignettes, but they all have to be strung together. So it's always a challenge. So where do you start, and how do the dancers move to this cliff, and how do they move to this tree, and do I have another dancer that can start somewhere else once they finish? And so it's kind of a puzzle every time when I come to Windhover or Rockport. The first day or first hour I'm there, I rush to the new quarry that usually I'm not familiar with, And I tried to map it out and just started figure out in my head how we could move around the space and make it accessible to everyone. Because sometimes the audience actually has to move with us to follow the action of the dancers.
And Dusan, how familiar did you have to get with the quarry itself before working with the dancers and creating your work?
How familiar? Well, you jump off the cliffs. It's like the first thing, if you're allowed.
Yeah.
You swim in the water, but I just walk around and I look around. Kind of, for us, the surfaces as dancers are very important. So obviously, the way the granite has been cut, or the moss grows, or the trees that fall over a quarry, there are suddenly new surfaces that we try to explore and what we can do with. And it's something that stage normally does not provide. Suddenly we have an incline that's like this, it's a huge face of a rock. Well, what can we do on that? Which normally we would have to build a huge platform in a theater. No one can afford it, but here it's just provided to us. So it's a challenge and an opportunity. So we just explore and we play a lot at the beginning. Like the first couple of days, I just tell the dancers, well, I have this idea. Can we make it? Usually it's impossible, but then they try it and they're like, okay, well, if I roll, I'm just going to end up in the water, or I'm going to scrape myself completely. So how do we need to cushion you somehow, or do we use our limbs somehow when we roll? And that already creates some kind of movement. So yeah, just using what the quarry gives us, it kind of dictates then what happens in the dance.
And there have been some moments when you were in boats, right? Your dancers.
Yeah, I mean, we've used boats, whatever, seriously, whatever we can find in the quarry. So sometimes they're boats. We've worked with a local rock climber, Matt Natty, who was in several of the quarries. He's actually installed ropes for us. We had a zip line 1 year. We've had harnesses, so we've been swinging on ropes and on the faces of rocks. We've had paddle boards. We've done it all, I think. So.
Well, so how can people see the finished product of Quarry Dance 9 2020?
So the idea for Quarry Dance 9 is that we will have a release date, hopefully by the end of August. And it will be in a form of kind of a live stream. Obviously, the film has been pre-recorded and it will have been edited, and it will be a finished product, maybe 30 to 40 minutes long. But we want to make it, like a special event that people have to actually sign in. We're still figuring out with the video maker what platforms we're going to use, but we'll make it accessible via Facebook and Instagram and all the social media platforms. But we would like to have a live Q&A afterwards, so people can ask questions, and with all the participants, dancers, Lisa Han, me, of course, the videographer. So I think it will give people a chance to kind of be more involved in the process of making this enterprise workable.
Well,
I'm still we managed to do it, so it's pretty, and it's very special for everyone, because all the dancers that came, from their little apartments in New York City where they've been stuck in a way for the last 4 or 5 months, they were able to come to this glorious, beautiful landscape and actually move fully again, not just in their living room. So it was really a special treat for everyone.
So it's going to be really interesting to see this video. I know it will be beautiful because everything they do is beautiful, but it might lead to a new precedent with the Quarry Dance. Maybe every year we will have a video of the event to add to the live event. And the live event is so interesting because if no one's experienced it, it means learning where the quarry is. And so many of these quarries are in the woods. So you have to figure out what weird little street in Lanesville to drive down and what path to take to get to that quarry. So you see, hundreds of people, just maybe not hundreds, but many people trekking down these paths in Lanesville to find the dance. It's kind of interesting. But now we may have video.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking to Dusan. That was great. I was also oddly fascinated by the skylight in this kitchen. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. I was waiting for a horse to jump over the jump out the window.
Our second interview today is with Mike Cronin. He is a reporter for the Gloucester Daily Times, and here he is following up on the story of the big news over in Rockport regarding the Atlantic Path.
So I wrote a story a couple weeks ago about the update to the Atlantic Path. The first story I wrote, I think last month or so, back in June, I was really looking to get the other side of the story, the property owners' side. I wasn't able to reach out to them, but I was able to actually speak for this new story. A person who's actually working on the property, his name is Peter White. He's a contractor. He's working on repairing a kind of like a support wall that helps keep the in-ground pool that's above 37, the 37 Phillips Ave in-ground pool up, I guess, supports it. And so he's saying that the property owners are not looking to, restrict access to their portion of the Atlantic Path. They are, however, hoping, negotiating with the town currently to kind of move their section closer down to the shore. Which, they argue that the amount of foot traffic and ocean erosion has been, kind of chipping away at the wall for, however many years people have been around. And so they're repairing their wall right now, and they're hoping that the town would allow them, they're offering up, a new section of their private property to kind of reroute the Atlantic Path.
Mm-hmm. So that means the path will go lower, closer to
closer to the rocks.
Yeah.
On the shore.
And I've heard the walkers say that that's more treacherous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all treacherous out there.
Yeah. Well, when I spoke with John, one of the leaders of the opposition movement, he said that there's I guess a 3-foot ledge that kind of impedes on access to some people. It's a little drop-off area. I wasn't able to get back there, but it's a little bit a tougher walk on the newly proposed section. So, and they also believe that they shouldn't, be making any compromise, as they believe that the Atlantic Path is a right-of-way. It's public property. However, as much as some sections of the Atlantic Path are indeed private property, not all sections have it in writing. Some deeds do say, this portion of the Atlantic Path is owned by the town. However, 37 Phillips Ave doesn't have that. So saying the property owners had no issue with it before, mm-hmm. but now that they're looking at the wall, mm-hmm. they're starting to see, well, this is kind of impacting our, property, and we're hoping to, move the public pathway down a little bit more, so it could keep the wall.
Have you've seen the wall?
I actually haven't. No, I wasn't able. Haven't been able to get down. Again, like, it is private property, that area, so I can't. I've been trying to, find the look. I've been at the property before just to try to ask questions, but the property owner wasn't at the house at the time. It was somebody else living there, so. I wasn't able to go see, but I do know from the videos that have been posted on Rockport stuff, there's a bunch of signs that say, temporary closed off. Initially, a lot of the protesters believed that this was kind of a way for the property owners to, reroute traffic on their own terms. However, when I spoke with Peter White, he said that these are just for construction. They're only temporary signs. Letting people know that there's construction work being done, and it's a safety issue. There's again, according to the videos that I've been seeing on Rockport stuff, there's scaffolding, metal pipes being set up around the area, and they are, in addition to installing more a secure wall, they're planting in different plants to kind of curb the ocean from going up too close to the wall. So it's kind of a shoreline control, a natural shoreline control.
Is it a wall to hold back a pool? Is there a swimming
Yeah,
pool?
it's a in-ground swimming pool that the wall supports. Mm-hmm. And the path has been moved before in the past. I remember reading something. It's available on the state website in regards to public rights of way. It's a book, but it's available on mass.gov. It talks about how I think around in the 80s there was a portion of the previously historic Atlantic Path that was becoming unusable. The shoreline, I think it again was erosion. It didn't go much into it, but I'm assuming it's erosion, different rocks moving. So the town negotiated with a property owner to use another section of their private property to reroute the Atlantic Path. So it's a little bit similar to what's kind of going on now, except it's in reverse. It's the private property owner coming to the town to talk about rerouting their path. But it has been moved before. I want to be clear. The Atlantic Path isn't, I guess, 100% accurate to how it was back in the old times, I guess, however centuries ago, when fishermen would use it to walk from Halibut Point area down to downtown. So,
Mike, we got to get you on another story soon.
Oh yes, I guess so. Yeah, well, that's what they pay me for, so I'll be writing.
It's a really good thing we have that Atlantic Path to talk about, because it's the only story happening in Rockport besides the pandemic. So we should cheer the Atlantic Path people.
And Cronin is just all Atlantic Path all the time for him lately. So we will get him on another story soon, we promise. But thanks for the GDT for that. Later this week, Heather and I speak with David Rimmer. He is from the Essex County Greenbelt, and he's going to be talking about the Ospreys. We have awesome footage for you to share there. And then Maddie Hayes is going to talk about baking in a pandemic, right? She's a young lady from Rockport, or?
I'm not sure. Her aunt is Denise Donnelly, selectman from Rockport. But I'm not exactly sure where Maddie Hayes lives. I think she's in Rockport.
Gotcha. And then we'll also be speaking with Mary Parks. She is a green crab expert. So I'm sure we'll have great footage there for you as well. So enjoy. We'll see you tomorrow.